Hello everyone, you're welcome once again to another episode of Ugo's Take. My name is Ugo Amadi and it's nice to see you. This is the first episode of the year and Happy New Year, and I hope you're not having too much hangovers from the Christmas celebrations, though I understand that probably would have been very muted and celebration. Today's episode is largely unplanned. Because I wasn't looking to start making episodes for this year. I was looking to start off from next week Monday and move on that way. But I said, okay, what do I do for my listeners? How do I get them involved in the show, letting them know things that would be coming up this year? Because I'm looking to change the way I deliver content and try to explore different platforms with respect to bringing out content. I'm trying to use a virtual background via Zoom. So for those of you who may be watching, you can see the background is acting up a bit, but that's all good. So let's go straight in. First off, I would like to say something, because going into the 38th episode of the podcast has been a fantastic journey. I would just like to say this to everyone. If you have something you want to do, if you have a thing you want to achieve, just start. It may not be easy, it may not be perfect, like you may not have everything you want to have, everything you think you need to start that project, but just start with what you have, because when I started this podcast, I didn't have what I have now. I didn't have the kind of mics I have now. I didn't have the kind of laptops I have now. I didn't have access to certain virtual tools, but I started, a platform with an app on my phone and started to grow. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm still going on, still trying to see how well I could get things done. Now, what to expect from Ugo's Take this year? I'll be looking to give at least 3 distinct shows every week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I get the strength to do them and I'm able to deliver them, because I think you, my listeners, who always listen to what I have to say, which might not be right all the time, might not be spot on all the time, but you're faithful and you always listen. I'll say you're the real MVPs and you deserve some variety from me. So, first off, on Mondays, I'll be having It's a Football Thing, which, like the name implies, we're talking about football, especially what's happening in international fixtures, happening in the Premier League, in Bundesliga, the La Liga, Spanish La Liga, and looking at some other leagues as well, like the Italian Serie A, looking at the Nigerian Premier League, and looking at how the clubs have played, and also looking at some salient topics that are within sports, within football, that we don't really get to discuss. And then the next would be Ugo's Take Heroes and Villains. I love comic books. I love comic book movies. I like comic book animated series. So I'll be giving my take on different topics with respect to comic books and comic book series. I'll be talking about my own comic book as well. Wahala Comics, a few titles that are in the works. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'll also be giving my take on other indie comic books like Concrete Comics, like Black Moth, like J. Beyond Comics, like Children of Andromeda. I will be giving my take on these comics, and I'll be looking to have as well a comic book rater to rate titles in the comics. As well, I'll also be talking about stuff happening in the DC world, happening in the Marvel world, and general comic book and news and related items. So that'll be coming in as well. And then I'll have Ugo's take on business, where I'll be speaking to, hopefully interviewing people who are in business, entrepreneurs, business owners, different business suppliers, looking at things that have happened in business and just like that. So those are some things I will be doing. And then last but not the least, on each Sunday, I'll be looking to have Ugo's Take. That is Ugo's Take. No, we're not blanking out. Ugo's Take. That is Which Way Nigeria. Which Way Nigeria with Ugo's Take, with Ugo Chukwuemadi, my humble self, on the Ugo's Take podcast. So what does that entail? Right now, what does that entail? It would involve me talking about what's wrong or what's happening in Nigeria, because I'm proud of my Nigerian roots. I grew up, I was born in the UK, but I grew up in Nigeria. I spent a lot of time in Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria for a very, very, very long time. So though I'm in the UK at the moment, though I live and I work and I have everything in the UK, but Nigeria is still my home. And Nigeria, because Nigeria is not just a giant of Africa, Nigeria has everything it takes to be a really powerful economic force in the League of Nations. But things don't seem to work out right. And then you have other things that happen within the context of Nigeria, things that happen with Nigerians, the perception of Nigerians. So there'll be a lot to talk about. Talk about Nigerian music, Nigerian movies, how the Nigerian economy can be improved. So you spread over various episodes. So that would be the thing we'll be talking about. So a quick rundown of the shows you should be expecting on Ugo's Take would be first, it's a football thing on Ugo's Take. Secondly, it'll be Ugo's Take Heroes and Villains. And then thirdly will be Which Way Nigeria on Ugo's Take with Ugo Chukwuemadi. And then lastly would be Ugo Takes on Business. So keep your eyes peeled. Keep following me on the various social media platforms. On Twitter is Stake Ugo, that's at Stake Ugo. On Twitter, that's STAKEUGO on Twitter. And on Instagram, it's Ugo's Take, that is UGOS-TAKE on Instagram. And on Facebook, I have a Facebook page on Facebook. Seems weird that I have to say I have a Facebook page on Facebook. There's a Facebook page. It's Ugo's Take. It is UGO''STAKE on Facebook. So you can go and like the page. There's a Facebook. There's a YouTube channel as well. It's Ugo's Take. You can go and subscribe so you don't miss the videos that come up there, because I'm looking to have videos of the podcast uploaded onto the YouTube channel, have them on Facebook, have them on Instagram, and also have them on Twitter. So wherever you follow me, you should be able to get access to the podcast. And now, for all those of you who say, "Oh, Ugo, but I'm on Spotify. I listen to your podcast via Spotify." Have no fear, because you can find it on Spotify, on an Anchor, Apple Podcasts, all the usual channels where you usually find my podcast. You'll find them there. And then let's move on to other things that we should also expect, other collaborations I'm looking to bring to the fore. Now, there are two main events coming up in the next 2 months. In fact, one of them is less than 8 days away. Is the BexCon Comic Con 2021. It's an event for comic book writers, animators, illustrators, from all over the world. Come and talk about what happens in the industry, what pains, what challenges you face or we face in the industry as comic book creators, as creative people in general. So you'll be expecting to have art challenges. You'll be expecting to have a question and answer session, because I have two powerful speakers that will be coming on the show. Jason Barrett, who is the creator and founder of JBeyond Comics. So he will be giving his 2 cents on issues as well on the show. And we'll be having Jide Martin. Jide Martin is the CEO, the founder and CEO of Comic Book Republic. It's a comic book company and publishing company based in Nigeria. It's one of the foremost companies, comic book publishing companies in Nigeria. So they have the Vanguard Union, they have Guardian Prime, and lots of inspirational and powerful characters that you should look out for. So you could even go to their website, check them out. Their website, comicrepublic.com. You could also check out for JBN Comics at www.herocomics.com. I think so. You could check them out there as well. So, and then Wahala Comics as well, which is my own comic book. You would be represented as well. We are working on a few titles like Green Eagles is in the works. They're working on When I Close My Eyes, which is a horror sci-fi fantasy comic book. It's also in the works right now. It's going through some inking and penciling at this moment. You heard it here first. And we also have Ghost Oni that's in the works. So very soon you have all that published. Now, I want to say a few things to help encourage ourselves, help encourage people and things like that. So, firstly, there are certain categories of people that you should stay away from. I'm not saying fight anybody. I'm not saying get into a quarrel with anybody, but just be mindful of your association with certain classes of people. They may be from a different race, they may be the same race as you, they may be from a different religion, they may be even people in your church, they may be people in your home or your family, wherever they could come from, anywhere. But just be careful and be mindful of these people. Now, what sort of people am I talking about? One, the people who never see anything good in what you do. People who you could give them a cup of water, but they're upset that it's not cold enough. You could give them a cold cup of water and they're upset that you didn't bring it in a tray. You could bring the cold cup of water served on a tray and they're upset that you didn't add some biscuits to the serving. Now you should be careful and mindful of those sort of people. Now, be very mindful because those sort of people drain the confidence out of you. They drain the confidence, drain the life out of you, make you feel less than you are, and then it affects you in the long run. And you feel this sudden surge of lack of confidence. So those people, you avoid them. There's no need to get into beef or quarrel or fight or scuffle. Just avoid them completely. Stay away. Stay away from them. Now, on the other extreme of the spectrum, or on the other end of the spectrum of this sort of advice, when I say advice or appeal or discussion we're having, is one, the next set of people is on the extreme, like I said, on the other extreme, people who always say you were right. Because we're human. We're not angels, we're not gods, we are not celestial, we're human. We have red blood flowing through our veins and our arteries. We have a heart made of flesh pumping within our rib cage. So we are not fallible. We are open to making mistakes, open to making errors, open to doing wrong things, But what's important is that when we do wrong, we are able to say, yeah, I did this wrong, this was bad, and then we learn from it, we improve, and we move on. So there's people that can be around you and they say, oh, you slap someone, oh, that's good, you should have slapped him. Yes, you get slapped, oh, that's good, you got slapped. They always praise everything you do. They never they never point out what you've done wrong. It's always, you're right, you're right, you're right. And this gives you a false sense of security that there's nothing wrong with you. It only goes to fan your ego, make you feel more than you are. And many times it could lead you into tough situations where you won't be able to recover from. And you see those people that go on to praise you at every turn, could turn out they'll run away from you and say, oh, look at him, look at her. You're mindful of those people because they're only around you because of what they can get from you. And when you're unable to give them what they want from you, you're left hanging in the wind. So those are the sort of people you should avoid. Those are the kind of people you should avoid in this new year. As we go into January 2021, we've survived the pandemic, we've survived the harshness of 2020, and I'm glad that we're in the new year. As we're approaching the new year, we should take a few steps. The first thing I mentioned when I started today's show was if you have an idea, if you have a business concept, you have something you want to achieve in life, don't wait till you think you have everything in place. Don't think you have everything. You don't wait till you have everything in place, because you'll never ever have everything in place. Because even multi-billion pound businesses still improve, still look for ways to improve their service delivery, improve their production processes, look for ways to improve their service delivery. Even some of them change things as simple as their logos, to look to improve. But you can't say, oh, I must wait to have $200,000 or £200,000 in my account before I start a project. I must wait till I have £10,000 in my account to start a project. Especially if you are in the creative industry. If you're in the creative industry, one thing I would suggest you do. Now, when I say creative industry, whether you're an actor, you're an actress, you record a podcast, or you write comic books, or you're a writer, one thing you should do is look for networks, especially on social media, because the world is a global village at this time of human evolution. It's a global village. So go on your Facebook, especially on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter and Instagram as well. You always find different groups, for writers, for actors. Let's take a podcast, for instance. I create a podcast, so I think it's fair that I talk about it from a standpoint of someone who's creating a podcast. Now, you go on Facebook, there are lots of groups where you could post links to your podcast. There are groups where you get free tips. There are groups where you get free tips, on how you can improve your listenership, improve your viewership, improve the content that you deliver, improve generally, and there are also platforms where you can post your podcast, episodes of your podcast, and get people to listen. Get people to listen to your podcast, and then you improve. So collaborate with people, look for networks, comic book as well. Whether you're writing a comic book, place this on Facebook. Because when I first started writing my comic book, because when I say write, I write the scripts, I create the concept for the characters, but I don't draw. That's it. First off, I thought you have to draw your own comics, especially if you're an indie comic creator such as myself. I thought you would have to draw your characters, but I learned that you can pay people to help you draw. Their artists, their freelance artists, freelance illustrators that are always in the lookout for clients who are comic book creators to help them bring their ideas to the page. Now I learned that. I wouldn't have learned that just sitting alone in my office or sitting with my legs crossed on my desk. I went on Instagram, went on Facebook. It may seem very ordinary, but that's what happened. I went on Instagram and then I found our various artists. Then again, I also found out I used to think the pricing was set at a particular level, but when I got on these various groups and platforms on Facebook, I discovered that not only was that not the case, but you could find cheaper illustrators, cheaper artists that would help you move your stuff along. Now you have to you have to strike a balance between getting a cheaper illustrator in terms of the price they charge and getting someone who actually would give you quality stuff, quality value for money. So there's that. Because I've always had this in my heart to create a graphic novel, create a comic book, but things have never seemed to align. But fortunately, in this year, things have aligned. And it wasn't just because of the pandemic, and then we seem to have more time on our hands, and sitting at home, and then what you do. But it was because I interacted with people. Like I said, I interacted with my friend and brother, Jason Barrett, the CEO and creator and founder of JBN Comics. Had a discussion with him and I said, yeah, he's doing it at a higher level than I am, but I can do this. So interact with the right sort of people. Going into the new year. And don't procrastinate. It may be for little things. It doesn't have to be for a huge project, because time consciousness is a lifestyle. It's not a habit, it's a lifestyle. Let's say you want to work out, and then you keep thinking, oh, I'll do it. It ends up the whole day, you've done nothing. The moment you have that instinct, you have that feeling that, oh, I need to work out, you get on it. The moment you have that instinct, you have that feeling, you get on it. You get on it and you don't have to. And one thing with working out, I'm not digressing, but one thing with working out is you don't have to do 200 push-ups. Just be consistent. You can consistently do 5 push-ups and in an hour, 5 push-ups in an hour, 5 push-ups in an hour, 5 push-ups in an hour. You have 24 hours in the day. And since most people are working from home, the fact that we have a pandemic, 5 times 24. You've done 50. That's 100. That's 100 push-ups, and you've done 100. And wait for it, 120 push-ups in a day. Now, maybe if you're going on to do, I have to do 20 at a time, you may not be able to. So what I'm saying is, don't procrastinate. Just get to doing it. Because oftentimes people say, you have to plan. It's good to plan, but action is also a feature of planning. Especially, let's say, using an agile method of project management. You create, you design, and then you launch an MVP, which is a microcosm of sort of like a product, which is like an epitome of the product you've created, you intend to create in the long run. And then you can look at it and say, okay, I did this right, this is good. Just like the podcast, every day I review what I do. You look at it and say, okay, I recorded well. I wanted to go live, but it didn't quite work with respect to going live, so I'm going to do it this way. Mm-hmm. That's it. So, like I said, this episode wasn't planned. So please forgive me if it's devoid of a certain structure that I've tried to put in place. But I wanted to just let people know what to expect on the Ugo Tech podcast. And if you're a first-time listener, please forgive me, my podcast is slightly different. I know people prefer to have like a central topic, maybe, or a central theme, like maybe football, you talk about football, or like music, you talk about just music, or pop culture, you talk about pop culture, hip hop, or it's just current affairs, that you focus on current affairs issues and talk about that. But I talk about different things that interest me, and hopefully they interest you as well. So before I go, I'll just drop in a few plugs and announcements that I did earlier on. What to expect on Ugo's Take is first on Monday, starting from this coming Monday, would be it's a football thing, where it's an episode where I will be talking about everything with respect to football, Premier League, EPL, Nigerian Premier League, the Serie A, international games, talking about things, also some salient topics within the realm of football. And then we'll be having heroes and villains. We're talking about comic book stuff, indie comics, mainstream comics, whether Marvel or DC. We'll be having such discussions as well. And then we'll be having Ugo Takes on Business, where I'll be talking to various captains of industry, talking to various entrepreneurs and challenges they face in business, giving you some business tips. So I would like you to also be part of the Ugo's Take WhatsApp group. If you want me to do that, just let me know by sending me an email or send me a DM on Instagram. It's Ugo's Take, as UGOS -TAKE on Instagram. No, on Instagram is UGOS_TAKE, or you can send me an email to ugostake@cosite.net. And then lastly, with respect to what you should expect on Ugo's Take this year per week, is Ugo's Take Which Way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Are you a Nigerian? Are you of Nigerian descent? Do you have a wife who's Nigerian? Do you have a husband who's Nigerian? Which way Nigeria? Do you care about what happens to Nigeria? Do you care for Africa beyond Wakanda? Because Wakanda fantasy stuff. Now, do you care for Africa beyond that? There's no way you care for Africa that you don't care, that you wouldn't care for Nigeria, because Nigeria is the most populous Black African country, not just in Africa, but in the world. So if you are one of these things, or you just want to know more, come on and join the show, and I will love you to participate, because I want to make things even more interactive. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode, like I said, unplanned, of Ugo's Take. Thank you. Bye-bye.